Ever wondered how the Bible, a book written thousands of years ago, can guide your daily life in modern times? If you have, you're not alone. Many people grapple with this question, wrestling with the intricacies of this ancient text and its relevance today. You see, the Bible carries a wealth of wisdom, but unlocking that wisdom isn't always straightforward. It requires a certain approach, a particular way of reading and interpreting its teachings. It's like a puzzle, with each book, each chapter, each verse being a piece that fits into a larger picture. The challenge lies in understanding these pieces in their historical context, interpreting their messages correctly, and then applying these lessons in our daily lives. It's a complex process, filled with potential pitfalls and difficulties. But don't worry, it's a journey worth taking. So how do we navigate this? How do we ensure we're applying the Bible correctly? Well, that's what we're here to explore. Let's dive into the process of correctly applying the Bible, shall we? First step in correctly applying the Bible is understanding the context in which it was written. The Bible, as we know, is not a single book, but a collection of various books written over a span of about 1,500 years. Each book was written in a particular historical era, with its unique cultural and social backdrop. These factors play a crucial role in shaping the messages of the Bible and their interpretation. Let's start with the historical context. When we read a biblical passage, we are essentially stepping into a time machine, traveling back thousands of years. Understanding the historical events surrounding the writing of a particular book can greatly enhance our comprehension. For instance, knowing that the book of Exodus was written during the Israelites' enslavement in Egypt adds depth to the narrative of liberation. Next is the cultural context. The Bible was written in societies vastly different from ours today. Their norms, values, and customs were unique to their time and place. For example, when Jesus spoke about separating sheep from goats, his listeners, living in an agrarian society, would have clearly understood the metaphor. For us, it might require a little more explanation. Finally, the literary context. The Bible is a medley of genres: historical accounts, poetry, prophecy, letters, and more. Each genre has its own rules and characteristics. A psalm should not be read the same way as a historical record. Recognizing the literary style of us decipher its intended message. So how do we go about understanding these contexts? It involves a bit of research, yes, but do not worry. There are plenty of resources available: commentaries, dictionaries, atlases, and more, both offline and online. And remember, this isn't a one-time task. As we continue to read and study the Bible, our understanding of its context will keep evolving. Armed with the context, we can now move to the next step. With context in hand, we can now interpret the message. Interpreting the Bible is like deciphering a puzzle where each piece has its own significance. But the true meaning only becomes clear when all the pieces are put together. This is where the importance of correctly interpreting the Bible's messages comes into play. It's not just about reading the words on the page, but understanding the meaning behind them. It's about digging deep, peeling back the layers, and seeking the truth beneath the surface. And to do this, we need to engage our critical thinking skills and discernment. We need to ask questions, probe further, and not just accept things at face value. Why is this so important, you might wonder? Well, the Bible is not just a book. It's a guide to life. It's packed with wisdom, lessons, and moral principles that have stood the test of time. But to unlock this wisdom, we need to interpret the messages correctly. Let's consider an example. If you read a verse that talks about an eye for an eye, it's easy to interpret this literally and think that it's promoting revenge. But if you delve deeper, you'll realize that it's actually calling for justice, not vengeance. That's the power of correct interpretation. However, it's also crucial to be aware of the dangers of taking verses out of context. A verse, when isolated from its surrounding verses, chapters, and books, can easily be twisted to fit personal biases and agendas. This is why we need to examine the context carefully and interpret the message in light of the bigger picture. Remember, the Bible is not a buffet where you can pick and choose what you like and ignore the rest. It's a complete package, and every verse, every chapter, every book has its place and purpose. So, when interpreting the message, we need to consider the Bible in its entirety. Interpretation is the bridge between understanding and application. It's what transforms the words on the page into wisdom for life. It's what makes the Bible not just a book to be read, but a guide to be lived. Now let's discuss the practical application of the Bible. The Bible, in its essence, is the guidebook for living. It's not just about reading and understanding its teachings, but also about incorporating them into our daily lives. So how do we go about this? Let's start with decision-making. The Bible provides timeless wisdom that can help us make sound decisions. For instance, the book of Proverbs is filled with advice on everything from dealing with conflict to handling finances. It encourages us to seek wisdom, understanding, and discernment, which are all invaluable when making decisions. Next, consider moral choices. The Bible sets forth standards of right and wrong, offering us a moral compass. The Ten Commandments, for example, provide clear guidelines on how we should behave. They instruct us not to lie, steal, or covet, to honor our parents, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. These principles can guide us in making moral choices that align with our values and beliefs. Finally, let's talk about interactions with others. The Bible teaches us to love one another, to be kind, and to forgive. It instructs us to be patient, to bear with one another, and to speak the truth in love. It encourages us to be peacemakers and to strive for unity. These teachings can greatly influence how we interact with others, promoting harmony and mutual respect. It's important to note that applying the Bible isn't about following a set of rules. It's about living out the principles it teaches. It's about striving to be more loving, more forgiving, more honest. It's about seeking wisdom and understanding, making moral choices, and treating others with kindness and respect. Applying the Bible is about living out the principles it teaches. Applying the Bible is not a one-time event, but a lifelong journey. Just as a tree continuously grows, stretching its branches towards the sky, so should our understanding and application of the Bible. It's a continual process, a journey that requires patience, diligence, and a willingness to learn. The Bible is a vast ocean of wisdom and knowledge, filled with profound truths and timeless teachings. But comprehending its depths is not a task that can be completed in a day, a week, or even a year. It requires a lifetime. It's like peeling an onion, layer by layer, to reveal the core. There will always be more layers to unravel, more truths to discover, and more lessons to learn. Be patient with yourself. There will be times when you might feel overwhelmed, when the teachings seem too complex, or when you can't see how they apply to your life. That's okay. Remember, even the wisest scholars don't claim to understand everything about the Bible. It's a book that has been studied for centuries, and yet there's always something new to learn. Don't be discouraged if you don't understand something right away. Instead, see it as an opportunity for growth. Ask questions, seek answers, and don't be afraid to revisit a passage that you didn't understand before. Over time, with continual learning, you'll find your understanding deepening and your ability to apply the teachings improving. And remember, this journey is not one you have to undertake alone. You can learn from others, sharing insights and experiences. The Bible itself encourages us to encourage one another and build each other up. So, don't hesitate to seek guidance, to listen to others, and to share what you've learned. Remember, understanding and applying the Bible is a journey, not a destination. So, keep going, keep growing, and keep learning. There's a whole lifetime of wisdom waiting for you within the pages of the Bible. So, what does it mean to correctly apply the Bible? Well, it's been a journey of understanding, hasn't it? We've dived deep into the context, learning to appreciate the culture, history, and circumstances that shape the biblical narratives. We've interpreted the messages, seeking wisdom and guidance from the text, not just literal meanings, but also the deeper, spiritual lessons. Then we've considered how to practically apply these teachings in our lives, transforming knowledge into action. And finally, we've emphasized the importance of continual learning, of returning to the scriptures again and again, each time with fresh eyes and an open heart. The Bible isn't a one-time read, but a lifelong companion. It's not just about knowing the words, but living them. As you continue your journey, remember these principles, and you'll find that the Bible can indeed guide your daily life in meaningful ways.